This is a Founding Media podcast.
Welcome. This is Leveraging Life. I'm Courtney Santana.
And I'm Becky Henderson.
Yes. And we're here to talk about something very interesting today that limits people, but it's very necessary means of relationship, and that is?
We're talking about boundaries.
Boundaries, folks.
Yes.
We talk about the tough stuff in here.
And you know, someone might be asking, okay, what do boundaries have to do with leveraging life?
Yes.
And I would say that it's actually a really important part of it. Because if you don't have boundaries, you're going to have a really hard time leveraging what life is bringing to you.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Courtney, what would you say? What would you say is the reason why people struggle with boundaries?
I think...
Or reasons. Could be more than one.
Reasons, yes. For me, I know it's my fear of disappointing people. So I'll extend myself to the nth degree to avoid having someone disappointed in me. So that people pleaser mentality, possibly. Mm-hmm. Not knowing what boundaries look like because maybe they never had them established for themselves. So it's like, I don't know how to, practice something I've never seen. I mean, those are one of a couple of reasons I think that would probably be why people don't like boundaries or they don't use them.
Well, and I think that could actually be a really big reason or a common reason. Maybe one of the most common reasons is because when something hasn't been distinguished for you or modeled for you, it's not even on your radar that it's a thing.
Right.
We call that the realm of what you don't know that you don't know.
Yes.
So it's if you've come up in a culture or a family or a community where what gets modeled for you is your boundaries, that you don't have an option, to say no or to set a boundary or, that it's not okay to disagree or, all of those types of things, then it could be... it can be a real challenge.
Well, it's funny. I have a friend. I said she should teach a seminar because I've never seen anybody actually say no so perfectly. She doesn't walk into situations that she doesn't want to be in. She basically tells people, no, that doesn't work for me. And people accept it. The power of no. I said, you should teach a class. She goes, I absolutely should because people don't resent her after it. They're not angry with her. She's done it in such a beautiful way that people actually walk away having a better understanding of who she is. And it's a gift for sure, because a lot of people don't say no. I'm not very good at saying no.
Yeah. Have you ever heard that no is a complete sentence?
Yes. She says that. I'm giving big ups to Prudence right now because she actually does say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, period.
Yeah, it actually doesn't require any explanation.
Well, I always say no, ... which means how can I make this right for you at some point, even though it should be a hard no. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So what that says? So that sense of I've got to make this easier on you, or I've got to make you okay with it, actually is an indicator of not having your own emotional boundaries.
Yes.
Like what's yours to take care of and what's your neighbors.
Right.
And there are different kinds of boundaries. There's mental, emotional, there are physical, geographical, there are, spiritual boundaries. One of the things that I think maybe some people can be confused about is they think that a boundary is like a wall.
Right.
Right. That a boundary cuts off relationship.
Yes.
And actually, I would say boundaries enhance relationship.
Absolutely.
Because I don't need a boundary with someone I don't intend to have a relationship with.
Okay. So if it's a short-term relation or a short-term interaction, you don't really have to have a relationship. So
yeah, I guess. I can build a wall.
Sure.
Here's my wall, and you don't get in here because you and I we're not in relationship with one another. Yeah. I'm not saying that's the way that someone should live, but just to draw a contrast with then what is a boundary? Mm-hmm. A boundary is actually there to enhance, to allow you to stay in relationship with someone. And when it's practiced well, here's what I've found is that when boundaries are practiced well, it allows you to be with anyone that you want to be with without trying to change them.
Okay. All right. Well, I mean, a lot of times I feel when people struggle with boundaries is because they're afraid people will be upset with them. They don't want to lose what their perceived relationship is. But at the end of the day, like you said, it enhances relationship because you guys kind of know where you stand in the relationship. So it's really important to establish, right?
So with that whole interchange of someone being upset with me, or usually how that actually shows up, here's the fear. It's not just, I'm afraid of them being upset. The fear, the way it shows up for people is, I'm afraid, or I don't want to make you mad.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or I don't want to disappoint you, as if that's possible.
Yeah. Why do we do that with people we don't even know?
Well, whether it's people I don't know or even someone that I do. Let me give you an example of really what I'm getting at. So it was years ago, I was having a conversation with a psychiatrist friend of mine. And I said something, I don't even remember what it was that I said, but then I followed it up with, I don't mean to make you uncomfortable. And he looked at me and he said, sweetie, you're not powerful enough to do that.
Oh. Well, I guess he just told you.
I didn't get it. I was like, huh?
Yeah.
What do you mean? Because our language gives us this impression that what I do automatically makes you feel this or that.
Right.
That never happens.
Right. It's just it's a perception that you have?
It's my perception.
Yeah.
So you can't make me mad.
Right.
It's my perception of what you're doing or not doing.
Right.
That's generating the experience that I'm having. So it's really so this is where this particular boundary gets really, really useful.
Sure.
Is that I am the source of the experience that I'm having in the moment.
Okay.
With your behavior. Right? Sure. So there's your behavior, and then there's my perception of your behavior.
Okay.
My feeling is coming from my perception, not inherently from your behavior.
So it's like I have to own my reaction to, I said no. You may or may not like it, but it's my perception that you don't like it or not. Because sometimes we make the wrong choice, or the wrong belief.
Or like if you say no,
yes,
and I get mad about that, okay? You didn't make me mad.
Right. I chose to be mad.
I'm choosing to have this response, this reaction to you saying no.
Okay.
It's when you try to mitigate that for me. You try to, you're actually trying to manage my experience that I am the author of.
Trying to be in control of something that you have nothing to do with.
Exactly. And that's the freedom in what that psychiatrist said to me. Sweetie, you're not powerful enough to do that.
Yeah.
But really, let that sink in.
Yeah.
I do not have the power to choose your feelings for you.
Yeah.
And when you start to get that about yourself, then you start to back off. You just stop trying to manage that for other people.
Yeah.
The more that you own your experience, the more comfortable you are with other people owning their experience.
That's great.
Even their experience of you.
Yes. That is very freeing, actually. You're not that powerful. Like you have the ability to change people and their thoughts and their behaviors just by, what you say. Interesting. Okay. Let's dive on more.
Yeah. Well, so here's what happens. When you're willing to take ownership for the experience that you're creating for yourself, that's what I mean by it allows you to then be with anybody. So if there's someone in your life that you're committed to, like I'm committed to continuing in relationship with this person, and you're taking full ownership over your experience of that, well, then you can never be in a place where now they're taking advantage of you or mistreating you because you never have to try to control them. You can let me give you an example. Let's say there's someone who they are the kind of person where they're always criticizing. Okay, they're criticizing you, and you've decided, you know what, I don't want to be in that kind of conversation anymore. What a boundary would look like. You taking ownership of you without trying to control them at all. A boundary would sound something like, you know what, I love you and I desire a relationship with you, but I'm not going to engage in that kind of conversation anymore. And you can do what you want. Yeah. You're a free agent in this world, but I'm letting you know right now, if that's the kind of conversation that you want to have, I'm going to be ending it. I'm going to be hanging up the phone. I'm going to be walking out the door. You do what you want.
That's basically saying you can do what you want, but I'm going to take off because this is not fitting me and this is what I need.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's fair.
It's powerful.
Well, and that person's going to take that into the next conversation. They might even take it into the next relationship and realize that, I think it's really important to establish those. That's interesting.
Yeah. So that would be, an example of a boundary.
I like that, though. I like the way that you put it. So how would someone who's never established boundaries take that step in saying, this is what I value? I mean, because I think that boundaries are meant to protect something. Mm-hmm. So how do they define what it is that they're protecting, or just getting to the root of, why am I holding this place sacred? And should I be holding it sacred? This is 2 or 3 questions in one, but I think the first one was.
So I think if there's been a history of not having boundaries there in your life, the other thing that not only have you been not taught how to create healthy boundaries, you've also not been taught that what you desire matters.
Okay.
So you've got to start waking up to my opinion matters.
Okay.
Without justification, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to validate it, but that there's something there, there's something that you desire or something that you want. Mm-hmm. It's like being happy for no reason.
Okay.
It's like I choose happiness, and I don't have to validate it. I don't have to argue for it.
Sure. It's just what I chose.
It's just what I chose.
Right.
So taking on this way of being that says, for my life, that I can actually choose a boundary that holds sacred something that I desire for the sake of holding sacred something that I desire.
Yes.
But if I haven't been taught how to do that, then it comes with it this sense of because if you've had a history of your desires being run over, I'm talking about like when you're a little kid or whatever, and that's been happening for you, then you're learning it's not okay to say no, and you're learning it's not okay to give voice to what it is that you want in an empowered kind of way.
Sure.
So that's part of setting boundaries, is seeing that what it is that you're protecting is valuable because it's yours.
Right. So if you don't have that perceived value of yourself, then you don't set up those boundaries.
Yeah, they tend to go together.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you build on that value? How do you decide, hey, I am valuable enough that I need to create these boundaries? I mean, I'm actually learning a lot myself, because I have the tendency to overextend myself because I will not say no. And I know I've never self-identified as somebody that has an issue with my self-worth now. As I get out of some old habits and behaviors that I've had my entire life, now I still feel like I still do it, but I'm not doing it to that degree. How do I do that?
I think it starts with the choice.
Okay.
And this is what I would also say about that choice, is that, see, if you're waiting to feel valuable before you start treating yourself as valuable, you're going to go the rest of your life. Because the feeling oftentimes won't come first.
Okay.
Like it gets cultivated. Okay. So if you haven't created the space for it to take root and get cultivated, then you're going to be waiting forever.
Yeah.
So it starts with a choice. Even if I don't feel that sense of value and worth, I choose it.
Yes.
I just choose it. And then from there, I
habit.
protect that space, and I actually nurture it so that a week from now, a month from now, 10 years from now, this sense of who I am as valuable and worth it becomes my new normal.
Yeah, it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also say this, that if you haven't practiced saying no, or if you haven't given yourself permission to say no, it's going to feel weird.
Yes.
It's going to feel uncomfortable.
Yes. Because you're always thinking in the back of your head, oh my gosh, they're going to go and like not talk to me again, or they're not going to, just irrational thoughts that you create, your self-talk. Like, I know it's not true. And then you go back to that person and it's like, hey, you start making concessions before they even open their mouth. So yeah, it's interesting.
So I have also found this, that you got to get clear on the kind of relationships you're committed to having.
Okay.
What's the quality of the relationship professionally, personally, that you are going to have, that you're going to be a stand for. Okay. And your boundaries, your capacity to say no actually is a great test of the kind of people that you're dealing with.
Okay.
Because you know what? Someone might get mad when you tell them no.
Okay.
They might get mad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And nothing I can really do is going to change that, I don't believe, right?
Exactly. Like if they're going to get mad when you set a boundary, what does that say to you about the kind of person they are?
That this may not be somebody that I can have that kind of relationship with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And isn't that great information?
It is. It's valuable information. But we live in such a emotion-driven, society where that, how you feel when you're around me and how you feel when I'm not here is so important. I mean, and we've established that. I mean, everything is emotion-driven. So if you're living on that, it doesn't feel good to feel like somebody's unhappy with you,
It really goes back to, I'm not saying it's pleasant when people are unhappy with you, but at the end of the day, you get to decide the experience that you're going to have around that, whether you're still okay or not, or whether you're not okay unless everyone else, like just notice the impact on the quality of your life when, let me put it this way. I love what Wayne Dyer said. He said, free yourself from the concern of the good opinions of others.
Okay. I like that.
If I'm no longer concerned about you having a good opinion of me, that's actually pretty liberating.
It is.
Now, it doesn't mean I'm going to show up and be a jerk to you.
Right.
Because I just don't care what Courtney thinks about me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's like I'm no longer being driven by this nonstop concern that you approve of everything that I'm doing. Now I can show up in true service to you.
Absolutely. Because we know where we stand with each other.
Yeah. Because see, if I'm worried about your opinion of me, I'm never really going to be of service to you.
Yeah. Yeah. Not full service.
Because everything that I'm doing is really being motivated by, I hope she accepts me.
Yes.
Right? So I'm going to say what I think is going to get me that acceptance. And that's actually one of the things we wanted to share today was a distinction.
Yes.
Between being nice and being kind.
Yes. Yes.
And that is at the heart of being nice versus being kind.
You should also add being in the South, be sweet.
Oh, yes.
Being sweet. Yeah, it's like, well, no, not being sweet has gotten me into some trouble. So we should definitely talk about the distinction between the two. And what's kind and what's nice. Yeah,
so nice, and maybe, for our audience, maybe some of you out there, you're familiar with this. Maybe some of you aren't. I don't know. But most of the time, again, we use nice and kind like they're one and the same.
They're interchangeable, yeah.
Yeah, they're interchangeable. We don't see a difference. Niceness is really about me. Okay. I don't want to be uncomfortable if you're upset with me.
Okay.
So I'm going to be nice to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm going to hold back from anything. There are things I'm not going to say and things I'm not going to do out of fear that you're not going to like it. So it's really about my discomfort if you're upset with me.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what niceness really is about.
Yeah.
But it's guised in this, well, I don't want to hurt your feelings.
Yeah.
No, I don't want my feelings to feel off if you're upset.
Yeah. Yeah. This is totally preservation for me. This is about me. Yeah. Absolutely.
Whereas kindness says, you know what? You might get upset with what I'm about to say or do, but I really believe it's going to serve you. It's actually going to be helpful for you, for me to show up in this particular way. So a great example. On a regular basis, I'm sure everybody's experienced this. Have you ever been at a meal? You've been at dinner with friends or family or strangers, doesn't matter, and you've been engaged in conversation while you've been talking. Maybe you've been, over dinner a half hour or so, and then you get up and go to the restroom, and you look in the mirror and you notice you've got like spinach in your teeth. Right?
People just mean. They want you to have spinach in your teeth.
Nobody said anything.
Right.
Why didn't they say anything?
Right. Because they didn't want you to be uncomfortable or awkward or
right. Because they didn't want to feel uncomfortable saying
yes.
You've got spinach in your teeth.
Or it's like when your fly is down. It's like somebody could have totally just said,
Zip it up. But they chose not to because that would have put them in an awkward position.
Exactly. Whereas kindness would be like,
hey.
at the table, be like, Courtney, got something in your teeth.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's an everyday example, but that is how it gets lived out for us with bigger things. This, being nice because I want to avoid the discomfort of what being truthful and honest with you would actually mean for me.
Right. Why would you want someone to have food in their teeth, though? That doesn't make sense to me. I would rather be the person that takes you off to the side because there's ways to, and this kind of goes into the how do we actually do this in practice? There are ways you just take that person off to the side and, hey, listen, you should know. Or do it in a way that it's not overt to the world where everybody can see it. And I think that people struggle with ways of being honest and being authentic because you don't have real relationships with people if you're not being truthful and if you're not setting those boundaries. I mean, we've had interactions where you've shared with me and helped me to have a better relationship with you and vice versa just because it's important to both of us to understand how we work together.
Absolutely.
And so if you don't have that authentic conversation, y'all are kind of just being fluff and it's not real anyway. So it's really important to establish those. So how you've given me some good advice. Can you share with the folks listening, some of that advice as far as establishing those boundaries?
So, So first of all, we mentioned this, getting clear on the kind of relationship, professional or personal, that I'm going to engage in.
Yes.
And then as I'm meeting new people, it's a lot easier to get it in there at the beginning than it is to try to recreate something down the road.
Oh, don't I know it?
But it's not impossible to recreate something down the road.
Yeah.
That's always possible because you know what? Every day is a new day.
Yes.
We have access to create something new every single day. So I'm not saying you're limited because there's been a history there. And it is, the more that you make this your intention for this is who I do relationship with.
Yeah.
This is who I am in relationship. It just becomes a normal part of your language. And I would say this, anytime you're learning a new language, even the language of no.
The language of no.
It's going to be a little clunky at first. Yeah. Right? But if you stay in it, eventually you start getting fluent. Yes. Right? Eventually it really starts to flow.
Yeah.
So if, getting clear on what kind of relationships you're going to have, and then you start bringing that in and you take responsibility for creating that dynamic that's there. And here's the thing, if anything is missing in your life, in your relationship, if a boundary is missing, okay, the only reason it's missing is because you have not yet created it.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. And that's not blame. This is access to being effective in your life. This is responsibility. Oh, if I can take responsibility for the boundary that's not there,
and create it,
then I can go and effectively create one. I can actually bring something into existence that hasn't been there before.
It's like, why isn't this not happening? You're like, well, this is because I haven't established the boundary. Now I have an opportunity to make that a real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's no judgment in there. Oh, this is bad that you haven't done that. It's just acknowledging and becoming aware. Oh, this keeps happening because I haven't clearly established that I'm not okay with this happening.
Yes. Like saying, hey, confirm 2 weeks out. If I haven't said that, then that person doesn't know and you have not set the expectation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's, I would say when you're first in this place of setting boundaries, if you haven't had a habit of that, then just know it's going to be uncomfortable at first. And it's going to come out however it comes out. and that you've always got an opportunity to go back and keep reestablishing them.
So as we wrap up, give me 3 points about boundaries that you would give to somebody in a quick pitch. Like, this is how you establish boundaries. Is that possible?
3. Well, it's getting clear on what it is that you want.
Yes.
Getting clear that you actually make a difference in creating it. And then you go and have the conversations, intentionally, that would have that dynamic get established.
And say, I am setting this boundary, and it's okay for us to have boundaries. Boundaries are okay. That's a hashtag.
Yeah. And I would say at the same time, I would also say this, you're going to have some people in your life that are like, no, that's not what I want. That's not what I'm signing up for. And that's where you've got to get really clear then, how are you going to live your life in the face of that?
Yeah.
And if you continue to stay in relationship with someone who doesn't want to honor and respect your boundaries, then that just leaves you tolerating it. So you've got to get really clear on what you're willing to do in terms of those kinds of relationships.
Is it a relationship if they're not willing to respect you? So that's something to think about to the next time that we get together. I'm Courtney Santana.
And I'm Becky Henderson.
Thank you so much for watching Leveraging Life.